All right, here we go. 1090 Jake, welcome back to Vlad TV.
What's up, man? How you doing?
The world's going crazy right now.
Yeah.
Everyone's losing their mind. Who better to bring on the show to talk about it than 1090 Jake?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, we have to start with Diddy. We have to start with Diddy. The most shocking event, man, in the last 20 years in hip hop.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's the Diddy thing, I don't know. It's crazy because I feel like more came out in the lawsuits than in the actual indictment, or maybe the lawsuits just made it where we already heard everything. But like with his actual indictment, I think it's gonna change a lot of things for a lot of people. I think flying girls out is over with. House parties are over with. Like, it's just, but at the same time, to be fair, a lot of what he's accused of, because he's hit with racketeering, where they're basically just piling up every accusation against him, from violence, from this, from that, whatever. But then the two other charges is, sex trafficking and then engaging in prostitution, like traveling prostitution.
Right, sex trafficking, racketeering, and kidnapping.
And kidnapping?
And kidnapping, yeah.
So I thought the three charges he had federally was racketeering, sex trafficking, and then something about transporting and prostitution.
Let me look it up exactly. Okay, so here we go. Combs was indicted on 3 felony counts: racketeering, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. In addition to those charges put forth in the indictment, the prosecution also alleged that Combs partook in kidnapping, forced labor, bribery, and other crimes.
Right. So I think with the other crimes, that's what's all wrapped up in the racketeering case, because they're even highlighting the Cassie shit and Kid Cudi blowing his car up. And I mean, yeah, all that, okay, whatever. But as far as like the transport, I didn't know that was even a charge like that, a federal, because any girl you fly out, that means if she profits in any way, because she knows if she's getting flown out, she's getting fucked. So she profits anyway financially, you could get indicted like Diddy?
It's relatively crazy. Like, there's actually a famous clip when I was on Math Hoffa show where I said something like that, and you see like all the hosts get up and walk out like at the same time.
Everybody's like,
we'll play a little clip from that right now, because it's actually a really funny clip. Like, you actually see Math and the other guy literally walk out and walk off camera at that point. And if you fly a girl out for the purpose of sex, that technically is sex trafficking. Run for it, guys! Yeah, man. Like, listen, men have been flying women out ever since there were planes. When they invented the first plane, some guy said, "Hey, I got an idea. I'm going to fly my side chick out from New York to LA.
Yeah, a bitch got a ticket immediately.
And from that point on, millions of times this has occurred. So my whole thing is, listen, if you fly a woman out and y'all have sex and you give her some money, you take her shopping, whatever else, it's hard to prove anything. These laws are kind of designed for people being trafficked against their will,
right,
and so forth. And I think you're going to have a hard time trying to indict somebody if you see the woman is actually very willing and wants to come out and everything else like that. Clearly, this isn't being done against her will. And I think in general, when I look at these charges, and knowing Diddy and so forth, being around him at parties, this guy is not Quasimodo, where he's not Harvey Weinstein. Like, women actually are approaching him and want to hang out with him and want to party with him and so forth. So trying to prove that a lot of this was done against people's will, I think is going to be a bit hard. That's all I'm saying.
That was my whole thing. Like, I could understand people getting forced to go to Epstein Island or whatever, but I can't imagine you having to force people to go to a Diddy party. Like,
right. And like, for example, I looked through the R. Kelly case again the other day, and his charges stem from underage girls.
Yeah.
That's his conviction. It was based on so-and-so was 17 at the time, and by federal guidelines, that makes her underage. Sometimes, you have the state thing. So if it was a state case, he could have potentially gotten away with it. But like on a federal level, anything under 18 is considered illegal.
Right.
So his convictions are all based on underage girls being transported for him to have sex with them. Doesn't matter whether they're willing or not, they're underage. A statutory rape. The end of story. I don't see this in the Diddy case.
Yeah,
I don't see any semblance of underage. I know there's one girl who tried to sue him, and she's like, "Oh, I was underage in the studio with him," and there's a picture. Okay, an underage girl shows up to a studio and takes a picture. There's nothing illegal about that.
Yeah, and
right?
at the same time, something academics brought up was there's also nothing of really men saying that he was engaging in gay shit. He had guys doing things with females, females doing things with guys. But that was another big Diddy rumor, was that he was doing gay shit and this and that, whatever. You're not really seeing that in the federal indictment either. It's just more so in the Lil Rod lawsuit. But, I mean, how Boosie has been speaking on the situation, I can somewhat agree with. Like, if you're a grown-ass man and you want to throw a party and there's some freaky shit involved, if everybody is willing to do whatever y'all are doing, it isn't really an issue. Now, if you're drugging people and drugging bottles, that's a whole nother ballgame, but then they're going to have to prove that.
Well, yeah, and it's been established, for example, in my interview with Roger Bonds, that Diddy himself was a drug addict.
Yeah.
He would go into rehab multiple times. So is he drugging people, or is everyone taking drugs together?
Exactly.
That's going to be the question, and there's not a great answer for it. Someone could say, I was drugged, and someone else could say, no, the pills were on the table and you asked to take one. Like, no one forced you to take the pills. No one forced you to sniff the coke. Like, it's going to be a very weird thing. But for example, look, Harvey Weinstein is in prison right now for something very similar.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like he's obviously going to get fucked with this case. But it's a Fed case. You're not really going to be able to do too much. You know what I mean? The only one out of anybody who's surprisingly doing good against the Feds is Youngboy, because I don't know how his lawyers are crazy. Diddy got a lot of money in this situation. I don't know if they're going to come for that money, which would essentially take away his power in the courtroom. But another thing, too, to consider is all the videotapes. Because if you have video of these people doing whatever they're doing willingly, they're not being forced to do it, that's going to be part of his defense. It's just wild, when they throw in the 1,000+ bottles of baby oil and shit like that, that's when the case starts looking a little fucking crazy.
Yo, when that came out, someone said, do you realize how long it takes you to go through one bottle of baby oil?
That shit's wild.
You could have a baby oil bottle for a year and it still has some in it.
Yeah.
You talking about 1,000 bottles?
Yeah, they were slipping and sliding through the mansions. But, I mean, another thing, too, like, one thing that I was looking at was the guns that they found inside of his house. They found 3 AR-15s with defaced serial numbers. That's a federal charge right there. And then they found in his L.A. mansion a 50-round drum, which there's no high-capacity magazines in California. So I was wondering if he was going to get a hit with additional gun charges for that shit. But, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see.
That's interesting. Why would Diddy, of all people, have guns with scratched off serial numbers?
Yeah, he had 6 legal firearms in a safe, but 3 AR-15s with defaced serial numbers. So,
if I were to guess, I think the feds are probably holding on to that just in case. Like, in case he beats all these other charges, we're going to pull this one out and do a superseding indictment. Start a whole new trial for the guns.
Yeah, well, I mean, because look at that. They hit the house, they find drugs and guns in the house. It's a perfect combination to put somebody the fuck away. You know what I mean?
My biggest surprise right now, and I'm still kind of reeling from this, is that he wasn't given bail. Originally, he was denied. They came back and offered a $15 million package, and once again, it was denied.
Would that have been the highest bail paid in history?
No.
There's more than 50 million?
The FTX guy put up $250 million.
God damn.
Yeah, I looked it up.
That's crazy.
He put up $250 million.
Cause hearing 50 million, that's fucking. And then they try to add the stipulation he won't have any contact with any females. He won't have
Right.
any females at his house. Like, I don't know. Shit's crazy.
Yeah, only Meek Mill's allowed over there. But not like 50 million is actually not that crazy because if you think about it, 10% of 50 million is only $5 million. He probably spends that in travel in a year.
Yeah.
So I'm not really surprised at the 50 million package. He has houses that are worth that. Not a big deal at all. But I guess he had contacted one of the witnesses something like 50-something times. And they see that as, okay, he's trying to potentially affect witnesses and, you know, he's potentially a danger if he's out in terms of trying to affect the trial, which is why the judge said that he's not going to give him a bail, because that's what the prosecution came back with, and the defense wasn't able to counter that.
Right.
You know, why did he call? Because what had happened was Dawn Richards, you know, she was part of Making the Band. She sued Diddy, and this other Making the Band member was mentioned 33 times. Now, this female who was mentioned 33 times is married to one of Diddy's close friends. She came forward and said, yeah, you know, my name was mentioned all these times. I don't remember any of these incidents that she's talking about. I've never seen him beat up Cassie, whatever else. So I guess he was like calling her like crazy to try to like get her to like somehow stand up for him, because no one's standing up for him at this point.
Yeah, nobody.
Nobody, yes, Boosie is standing up for him in terms of in general, but Boosie wasn't there to see any of this stuff.
And
so
I
that doesn't help him.
Meek came out and said something, offering up like $1 million if anybody can prove he did something, whatever. But yeah, everyone seems to be staying away from this entire situation.